For this project, you're going to need your J crochet hook or 6mm crochet hook, as well as a tapestry needle and a pair of scissors. The yarn that I used was by Yarn Bee Effervesce, and the color is Sand Frost. I also used a yarn similar to Effervesce that's a light pink color. I also used a ribbon that's 3/8 of an inch. It's a really pretty pink color by Celebrate It 360. So here I just want to show you a sizing. So this is the top of the head, and we started with a chain of 10 for this project. So you would add 2.5 inches, and that's what the size of your hat is going to be. So if you wanted to make it a little bit bigger, I just wanted to show you. Here is an example where you start with a chain of 15. You add 2.5 inches, and then that would be the size of hat that you're going to get. So for this project, we started with a chain of 10, and this is just showing one where I started with a chain of 15, and you can see how it makes it bigger. So if you want a bigger hat, this is how you would make your bigger hat. You would just start with a bigger chain. And this just shows you how you can kind of guesstimate the size by adding 2.5 inches. Or once you measure the size of the head, you would subtract 2.5 inches and then make a chain for that length. And then that would give you the size of hat that you want. The first thing you want to do is get the main color that you're going to make for your cape and hat. And I'm using my light pink, and we're going to do a slip knot. So you're just going to take your yarn, fold it over on itself to form a loop, and then put your crochet hook through the loop and hold the base with your middle finger and your thumb, and then just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through the loop for a slip knot. And then you're going to make a chain of 10. 1, 2. So you can see I'm yarning over, turn the hook upside down, hook that yarn and bring it through the loop for a chain. And that's 3. And you should have a chain of 10. This is how your work should look. And now we want to keep this edge straight. So we're going to turn our work, and we're going to put 2 stitches or 2 single crochet beneath that last double crochet. So you're going to take your crochet hook, you're going to go into that space right under the double crochet, your last double crochet. You're going to bring up a loop. You have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, go through both loops for a single crochet. Then you're going to go in the same space, bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through both for a single crochet. And then we're going to start working on the opposite side. So you're going to go into the stitch, the first stitch on the opposite side. You're going to bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through both for a single crochet. Now you're going to do a chain 2. 1, 2. And that's going to count as your first double crochet on the opposite side. So then you're going to do a double crochet into the next stitch. And you're going to do a double crochet into every stitch all the way to the end. So I'm going to do one more with you. So 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way to the last stitch, and then come back. Now I have 1 stitch left where I started, so I'm going to do 2 double crochet into that stitch. So go into that last stitch, and do 2 double crochet into the same stitch that you first started. So that will give you 3 double, actually you're going to have 4 double crochet into that same stitch. So now you're going to do a slip stitch into the top stitch of that first double crochet. Just yarn over and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. Then you're going to finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. Now this is how your work should look, and this is going to be the front of the cape hat, and then this is the curved back portion of the hat. So you're going to go to the top portion and join at that top stitch with your main color for the hat, and then you're going to make a chain of 1, turn it over and just tie a knot where you're joining. Then you're going to make a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3, and that's going to count as your first double crochet. Then you're going to turn your work over, and then you're going to do 1 double crochet into every stitch across. So just yarn over, go into the next stitch, go behind your loose yarn end, bring up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. Then you're going to do another double crochet. I'm going to do 1 more with you. Just yarn over, go into the next stitch, go behind your loose yarn end, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. So go ahead, make 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way to the end, and then come back. Now this is how your work should look, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches on this end. I'm going to do 2 double crochet into each of those stitches. So in my next stitch, I'm going to do 2 double crochet into the same stitch. And then the next stitch, 2 double crochet. And I'm going to also go behind. So here, this stitch is actually a double crochet. So I'm going to go right underneath this double crochet right here. You can see the end double crochet. So I'm going to make 2 double crochet stitches in that same space on the end. And at the same time, actually, sorry about that, you're going to make 4. So in this double crochet space right beneath that double crochet on the end, you're going to make 4 double crochet into that space. And you're going to work behind your loose yarn end. So go behind the loose yarn end, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2. So I'm going to make 4 double crochet beneath the double crochet on the end. And that will just help you create the curve for the back of the hat. And now I have 1 stitch here before my first double crochet on the opposite side. I'm going to do 2 double crochet into that space. And then I can go ahead and cut my loose yarn end before I start working on the opposite side. So you can see how you're creating a nice straight edge for the front of the hat and then a curved back of the hat. So now we're going to work towards the front of the hat. So you're just going to make one double crochet into every stitch, going back towards the front of the hat, and then come back. Now you're going to make a chain of 3, 1, 2, 3, and then turn your work. And you're going to do 1 double crochet all the way to the corner. You're going to have 5 double crochet on the end. So go ahead and make 1 double crochet into the next 9 all the way to the end, and then I'll show you how to turn the corner. So yarn over, go into the next stitch over, and make 1 double crochet in the next 9 stitches to the end, and then come back. So this is how your work should be looking. And now we're going to be working into the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches on the end. You're going to do 2 double crochet into each of those stitches. So go ahead and make 2 double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. And then come back. So this is how your work should be looking. And we just finished rounding the back of the hat. And now you're just going to do 1 double crochet into every stitch. So 1 double crochet into every stitch, back to the beginning, and then come back. Now I just did a double crochet into my last stitch, and you can see how the front is forming a straight line, which is what you want, and then in the back you made a curve for the back of the hat. So now you're going to make a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to turn your work, and you're going to work a double crochet into the next stitch over. So just yarn over, go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, make a double crochet, and you're only going to do 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way around. So 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way around back to the other side, and then come back. So now you should be back to the opposite side, and you're just going to keep repeating this process. You're going to make a chain of 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to turn your work, and then make 1 double crochet into every stitch until you've completed 6 more rows of 1 double crochet into every stitch. And if you want to help keep track of what row you're on, you can just take a yarn marker. Just take your yarn marker and just put it onto the same row. I'm just hooking one of my little scraps of yarn. And that'll just help you keep track of how many rows you've completed. So go ahead and finish making 1 double crochet into every stitch for 6 rows, and then come back. So now you should have completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows, and you can see how you're forming a hat. This is how it should look. Now we're going to form the cape portion. So you're going to make a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. It's going to count as your first double crochet. Then you're going to turn your work, and you're going to work a double crochet into the same stitch. So you're going to yarn over, go into the same stitch, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. Now you're going to do 2 double crochet into every stitch back across. I'll do one more with you. 2 double crochet into every stitch back across, and then come back. Now when you finished making 2 double crochet into the last stitch, go ahead and chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. And then you're just going to do 1 double crochet into every stitch back across. So 1 double crochet into every stitch back across, and then come back. Now go ahead and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Then turn your work. And go ahead and place a yarn marker to help you keep track of what row you're on, because you're going to make 4 rows of 1 double crochet into every stitch, or however long you want to make your cape. This is where you'll add the length onto your cape. So for my cape, I'm just going to make 1 double crochet into every stitch for 4 rows, and then come back. Now I finished 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of 1 double crochet into every stitch, and now we're going to add the color that we're going to do the border. And I'm using this sand frost color for my border. I'm just going to take and loop my new color and do a chain 1. Make sure you leave enough of a loose yarn end. Let me just do that again, because I want to make sure I have enough loose yarn end. And then I'm just going to take and cut my previous color, the pink color, and tie a knot. And now we're going to start working on the border of our cape and our hat. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take your crochet hook, and we're going to start working in the sides right beneath our double crochet. So here you can see, here's the double crochet for this previous row that we just finished. We're going to work right underneath that double crochet. So you just take your crochet hook, and we're going to bury our loose yarn ends as we work. Let me just take the loose yarn ends, and I'm going to put them together. So I'm going to take my crochet hook, go into that space beneath the previous row's double crochet, go behind my loose yarn ends, bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through both for a single crochet. And then you're going to do 1 more single crochet into that space. And then you're going to go into, you have a space right between the 2 double crochet. So you're going to go into that space. Let me just show you a close-up of it. So here you have your space underneath the side double crochet. Then you have a single space here, and then you have the space under your previous double crochet. So you're going to do 2 single crochet into here, 1 single crochet into here, and 2 single crochet into here. So I'm going to go into that space, go behind my 2 loose yarn ends, bring up a loop, make a single crochet, and I'm going to do this all the way to the hat. And then when I get to the hat, you're going to do the same thing, and you're going to go all the way across the hat and the other side of the cape to the bottom, and then come back. So I finished making the border all along the side of the cape and the front of the hat, all the way back down to the other side. And now I finished making 2 single crochet into that last space underneath that last double crochet on this row. Now you're going to put 2 more single crochet into the same space. So take your crochet hook, go into the same space, and make 2 more. 1, 2, and then you're going to be turning your work for the bottom of the cape. And this will be much easier because you can see each of your stitches. So you're just going to do 1 single crochet into every stitch along the bottom of the cape. So just 1 single crochet into every stitch along the bottom of the cape, and then come back. Now I reached the other side. Oop, tangled and I did a single crochet into my last stitch. Now I'm going to do 2 more single crochet into the same stitch. 1, 2, and then I'm going to take my crochet hook, go into that first single crochet that I made, and then I'm going to do a slip stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. And now you're going to want your yarn marker. So take your yarn marker and place it right where you left off. And then you're going to do a single crochet into the next stitch. And then you're going to do 1 single crochet into every stitch all the way around for 2 more rows. Or actually I should say 2 more rounds, because you're going to go all the way around into every stitch back to where you started. And then you're going to do that for 2 more rounds and then come back. As you're doing your single crochets into every stitch, in the corners, make sure you do an extra single crochet into the corner as you're turning it. That way your corners will lay flat. I finished 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, of 1 single crochet into every stitch. Now you can take your yarn marker and remove it. And we're going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch over. So take your crochet hook, go into that next stitch, yarn over, and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook. Go ahead and make a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're going to do a single crochet into the next stitch over. And you're going to do that all the way around. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet into the next stitch over. Go ahead and finish making a chain 5 and then a single crochet into the next stitch over, all the way around back to the beginning, and then come back. When you're back to where you started, go ahead and do a slip stitch into the next stitch over, just yarn over, and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. And then go ahead and finish off, just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. And now you've finished the first round of ruffle. Now we're going to do the second round. So you're going to move down to the second row. You're going to take your crochet hook and just go into the space below the second row and then come up. So you can see how my crochet hook went behind the stitch on the second row. And then you're just going to take your yarn, loop the yarn, and bring it through. And then you're going to make a chain 1. Then you're just going to take and tie a knot. And now you're going to do a chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're going to go into the space right next to the space that you went into for the beginning stitch. So you take your crochet hook, go into the next space over, go behind that row, bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through both for a single crochet. And you can see how you're making the second row ruffle. And you're going to do that into every stitch along the second row. So I'm just going to do a couple with you so you can see. So I'm going to go into the next stitch over with my crochet hook. I'm going to go behind, the stitch. Let me just show you a close-up so you can see. So here you can see how I went behind the stitch. So I went in with my crochet hook and then up behind that stitch with my crochet hook. So this is one stitch and this is the next stitch beside it. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I go into the next stitch over. You can see how I went behind the stitch, bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through both for a single crochet, and then chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see how I'm forming the frill on the second row. So now I'm going to go into the next stitch behind the stitch, bring up a loop, make a single crochet, and I'm just going to do that all the way across the second row and then come back. So I just want to show you what your work should be looking like. You can see how we made the ruffle on the very end, And now we went up one row to make the ruffle on the second row. You can see how pretty it lays down. And I just want to show you as I'm working. This is the row that I'm working on right above the end row ruffle. You can see how the ruffle looks one row up. And that's what it's going to look like all the way around. When you get back to where you started, you can go ahead and do a slip stitch into that first stitch. Just yarn over and pull the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch, and then go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. And now you could stop if you wanted at this point, but I'm going to do one more layer of this frilly end or border, and I'm just going to start right where I left off. Now if you wanted to finish here, I'm just going to show you how to bury your loose yarn ends. Just take your loose yarn ends and put it onto your tapestry needle, and then just weave it into the other side. And then you just kind of weave it into your work and just bury it into your work. And then once you have it buried nicely, then you just take and cut the loose yarn end. So that's how you bury your loose yarn ends. But I'm going to show you how to do one more layer. So now you're just going to start just like you did the second row. You're going to make another, you're going to go right to the row underneath, and you're just going to join. I'm going to join right here. Just take your crochet hook, and this is the row that I'm going to be working on. So I'm just going to go under that first stitch, and you're going to work it the same way you just did the previous row. Just grab your yarn and bring it through, and then you're going to chain one. Then you can go ahead and tie your knot. I'm just going to show you a couple of them again to get you started. So you make a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to do a single crochet into the next stitch over. So you go into the next stitch, just take your crochet hook, go under the stitch right next to where you did your chain of 5, and then you're just going to bring up a loop, 2 loops on a hook, yarn over and go through both for a single crochet, and then chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you could see how right next to it you have your next stitch. You just go behind that row to make your single crochet. So you go into that row, go behind it, bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through both for a single crochet. And you're just going to keep doing that all the way around, just like you did for the second row. And then come back. So now when you reach the beginning again, then you're just going to do a slip stitch. Just yarn over and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. And then go ahead and finish off. And then just bury all of your loose yarn ends. And then come back and I'll show you how to place the ribbon. Now go ahead and take your ribbon, and I just cut two pieces. They're 16.5 inches long each. And then you're just going to take your cape and go right where the hat meets the cape and just put your ribbon from the inside going out and then go back in, skip one double crochet and go back in with your ribbon, back into the inside. And then on the inside, you're just going to tie a knot. And do that on both sides. And now you have your hat and the cape and the bow ties right in the front.